Welcome and thank you for joining us here for the Smite Pro League. We're in week 4 and it's North America. Finch here, and I got Ryan Aggro Bailey here with me this time. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing pretty well. You know, people kind of demanded it. The tie has returned, and you know, you didn't have to actually ask me how I was doing. I think my tie speaks for itself. I'm happy and ready to be here.
No one demanded it. I just want to make sure that's on the record.
That is objectively false.
No one demanded it, though. But I do want to remind everyone again, this is being brought to you by Mixer, and there's a ton of cool stuff we're able to do. We got the co-streaming going now, so you can enjoy those POV cams that you voted on earlier in the week, so you can see exactly what your favorite players are up to, as well as being able to get to you a little bit faster and even be more interactive than we were before, right?
They got the polls. You're going to be voting
That's
on
right.
your who you think is going to win each game, the MVP polls, and it's just a lot of fun to be doing that kind of stuff through Mixer.
Yeah, it just makes it even more fun to be a part of everything that we're going to be going over. But I want to at least make sure we talk about how everything is going to be breaking down for you, at least in this first split, the spring split that we are in right now. It's 6 weeks. We're in week 4. Everyone's playing each other twice, and they're going to be best of 3 matches. So we're going to get a definitive winner from each set.
And we've had, as you mentioned, the first 3 weeks, everyone played each other once. Is the second half of that double round robin format. So seeing how these teams are able to adjust and try and earn their way towards these lands.
And these lands are exactly what we're talking about. We're going to have the Masters. That's only a couple weeks away there from the end of the spring split. Then we're going to have the summer finals as well. So all these lands are going to be following each one of those splits, of course, leading up to the World Championship to see who's going to grab that hammer.
And some teams already looking pretty good, but there's still plenty of time. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but I mean, eUnited trying to defend their spot. They were the victors at last year's World Championships, of course. Off to a little bit of a rocky start, but it looks like they may have righted the ship.
Yeah, we'll see if they are going to be able to get back into it. But speaking of EU, just a different kind of EU here and in Europe, we want to take a look at those standings. Yeah, see what I did there, Ryan? Only person to ever make that joke. Energy. Look like they might be back a little bit up at the top of the standings, but Rival are hanging right there with them.
Dignitas there as well. The top 3 in Europe seem to be pretty far away from the bottom 3, and I will include Obey as bottom 3. It's not the 3-team grouping, then Obey Alliance, then SK and Mouse Sports like everyone else kind of thought. I really feel like it's top 3 versus bottom 3 right now.
And we've seen it. I mean, SK has taken a set off of Obey at this point, so you're right. Yep. It's not as much space between them as we used to think, but let's go ahead and take a look at North America as well, Ryan, see where everyone's shaking up. Of course, these are going to be before the sets that we're playing today. A lot of games for CLG, so they have a chance to really separate themselves.
Doubleheader here for CLG, and the big one is going to be the last game of the day against eUnited.
Yeah,
eUnited and CLG just played, and eUnited got a victory, and actually the only loss that CLG has suffered so far. Excited to see if they can get some revenge.
That's right. Speaking of that, I mean, those matchups between CLG and eUnited, they're going to be so important. CLG may be a bit of a surprise to some of these teams. Their roster certainly is strong, but to be looking as good as they have so far, and they're going to have a chance to prove it as they're going to be going up against LG and eUnited later on in the day.
No easy matches anymore in the SPL. Not just today, but ever, basically, no matter what region we're talking about. Going down to 6 teams has really condensed the talent and made these teams that much better, and CLG is one of those that has still looked good despite how hard all of these matches have been, but they're going to have their work cut out for them today.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of work that they're going to have to be going through to make sure they get everything going for them. In particular, though, if you want to make sure that you are supporting your favorite team, we got those badges for you as well. I said it before, I got myself a Splyce badge already. Man, went off to a rocky start, but I love having the badge. I got the HUD theme now and everything. The game's looking real cool. I love it, yeah.
Black and gold's a good color scheme.
It is, yeah.
I can't be upset about that one. Black and gold is good. Finch is what I'm saying.
Yeah, what's happening is
the Pittsburgh sports teams are all black and gold. Let's go Pens tonight, by the way.
I just accidentally supported the Steelers just now, and it hurts me to my core.
It's not so bad, right? It feels kind of good, doesn't it?
It does not.
Yeah,
it hurts me to my core. But again, eUnited and Splyce, that's going to be this next matchup that we're taking a look at here, Ryan. And this eUnited squad, I mean, it's not going to be easy for Splyce to try and hang in there.
No, but Splyce, despite their record, has looked much better than the one win really indicates. They've had very close sets up against a lot of teams. They took Space Station to a 3-game set. This is a team that has a lot of potential, but they're starting to delve into the weird kind of stuff that they like to run. I mean, Warriors in the ADC role is Vamana ADC. Last time we saw them, look, I think they're almost making it harder on themselves than it needs to be. CycloneSpin's a good player. Yeah. I love the Gibelanke pick. Let him pick the hunters. Let him pick the good stuff. try and just win the game through being better than your opposition, because they aren't. It's not like they're at such a talent deficit that they can't do that. They can just beat you 5v5, and that's what I want to see them try to do.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit like the mirror of Mouse over in EU, where both the teams are kind of very much committed to not playing traditional stuff at this point. I use that word for lack of a better one, but certainly this Splyce roster is capable of playing at a high level. They're full of talented members that have been around the scene forever. It's time for them to start taking that into action in these wins.
Splyce has struggled to find their footing. Now, Aror and the boys do have a nice play style, and I like that they've embraced it. They're not going too crazy, but they definitely know their identity. They want to fight early, they want to fight often, and this is how they found a win early in one of the matches this week. Not a W per se, but still, look at what they're doing. This team needs to hit the VODs and hit the books, and maybe they'll hit the wins.
And there's that Splyce roster for you, looking strong, but still trying to find that in the win-loss column. And I think a big part of that for them, Ryan, is going to be Divios for him over in the solo lane. I mean, that guy, he's as talented as anyone else in the solo, and they need him to start bringing that around to the rest of the map.
Man, he looks great so far here in Season 5, and no surprise to me, at least, that it's mostly on traditional stuff. It's the Hercules, you know, the Cerberus, the Xingqian, stuff that we've seen him play consistently and that has been proven to work at this level. The dude has been playing out of his mind. It looks like he hasn't missed a beat since taking his break. He's been absolutely dominant for Splyce, and you know, their record being not where they'd like it, but the fact that they've been in so many close games is in large part because of the way Divios has played.
Yeah, this guy's playing out of his mind, and you saw it over there. It's 5, I think it was 5-12 is what we saw for their record right now. The way that it works, because it's the best of 3, if you play 6 sets and lose, you could have a 0 over there. You could, but that's showing that they are able to find those games. Like you said, a big part of that is Divios. They just got to be able to find both in a row and stay consistent in these sets.
And they've won almost one game in everything they've played so far, I believe. So you could tell that the machinations are there for them to get it and put it together. They just have to find out a way to close out these sets and not just let it slip through their fingers.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough for them considering their opponents. They're going to be up against eUnited here today. The world champions are defending world champions right now, and they're kind of coming in their own and starting to look like those players we saw not too long ago in January.
Better late than never would be the headline if I'm writing about eUnited. These guys are the defending world champs, and week 1 and week 2, they forgot to hit the alarm clock. Week number 3, they woke up and they won. This is the team that won last year. If they want to win this year, they got to bottle what happened in week 3 and keep it moving forward.
eUnited, your world champs, and they're starting to look like it, and they're going to have a chance to prove it. A lot of tough matchups for them, but primarily they're going to need to regroup here up against Splyce, and they're going to be doing that through PolarBearMike.
And he's been the guy for them to try and lead them back into the promised land. I mean, this is the emotional and in-game leader for this squad, and it didn't look like they were, just missing stuff all the time. It really felt like it was a mental thing for eUnited in their struggles, and so it's no surprise to me that PolarBearMike's going to be a focal point for this squad moving forward after that. He's got to be the one who's going to reset them and get them in the right frame of mind in order to be winning again.
And this is what's going to show us that true mettle of world champions is you're not always going to be the best right at the start of a new meta, especially with all these changes, but how quickly you adapt, how quickly you can recover when maybe the first 2 weeks don't go the way you expected. That's what defines, in my mind at least, the world champion caliber teams, and they're starting to show us.
And I'm excited to see if they can continue that, because today is not an easy task. Splyce has looked like pretty good, and now, I mean, CLG was #1 before eUnited dethroned them, and I'm sure that CLG is going to be putting in a lot of work to make sure that eUnited doesn't do it to them again.
Let's go ahead and get the picks and bans ready to go. eUnited up against Splyce. Y'all may have got a little bit of a glimpse at them earlier, but this way we get to see exactly what's being prioritized early on, what these bans are here between these two teams. Are they going to be the more targeted bans, or are they going to be the meta bans you've been seeing a little bit more of?
Well, both targeted and meta with the dodgy. I mean, Cyno is a great jungler, but also one of those picks that has been around pretty consistently, and Splyce banning away the Uller, something that PandaCat has really looked for pretty early on in a lot of the United drafts, so I like that they've done their homework.
Make sure they get that Uller off the board. Robin is selected from eUnited, and if you haven't been around all of Season 5 so far, or at least recently, that's more of a jungle ban than a solo ban. Like you might remember Robin from days of old. This guy has built almost all damage, and he jumps on you from the jungle.
And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Now, Achilles locked in, first pick. Achilles still winless in the SPL.
That's true.
And we'll see if eUnited can get a W in that column, because I mean, look, Achilles has done well during his games. It's not like he's been performing excessively poorly. It's just that, you know, what is it, 6 games or something like that? And he hasn't found a win. It's not like it's just 1 or 2 here and there. It's becoming a trend now that Achilles is doing well, but the team is not around him.
Yeah, if anyone can turn around, though, it'll be Screammmmm. Could potentially be going to Benji. We've seen some solo Achilles, but I think he does best when he's coming out of the jungle. In response, though, it'll be the Terra tier. And I'm a little surprised here, Aggro. I mean, was tier going to be taken away?
I mean, that's just been a priority pick for Divios. They've been willing to take this very early on in a lot of their drafts. Now, if I'm eUnited, with Achilles potentially going to the jungle, I think I'd love to pick an Artio right there instead of the Artemis potentially. But really prioritizing that Artemis selection, maybe one that CycloneSpin's been practicing, hard to say. But PandaCat obviously very comfortable on it. I think that Janus Artio is probably your best 2 picks in that slot right there to try and shut down that tier in lane.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem for them. You talked about PandaCat liking this Artemis. We've even seen him building Blink on it when he feels especially comfortable and going in playing real aggressive. So there could be some potential problems. Might want to consider Beads, though, with Fenrir being the selection from Splyce. You do not want to get picked up by the dog.
But I love this Amaterasu, man, because it's one of those situations where it gives pressure to that Artemis in lane, so it's going to help out that laning phase, but it also makes life difficult for the Terra. That silence really interacts with a lot of what she wants to do with the kid. It can stop the dash, can stop the Fenrir brutalize, can stop the tier fearless. I really love this Ama ban from Splyce.
Also going to ban away the Geb, so taking a bit of an eye potentially towards PBM and limiting what he's able to do. eUnited, on the other hand, they're trying to hurt TheBest right now, taking away the Nua and the Thoth, but that just leaves up Agni, and TheBest can certainly play a good Agni. Yeah,
surprised that Splyce doesn't pick up Janus with one of those first 2 picks. That has been Splyce's first pick potential basically every game has been the Janus. I bet you eUnited's even a little bit surprised that they were able to get it.
They snapped up for themselves as soon as they could, so they were able to get it. You talked about prioritizing the Artio earlier on, but in a world where you can get Artio with your last pick, you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
And they even got the Mercury to go along with it. So now we got some questions about where these 2 picks are going to be going.
Now, it could be Achilles in the support role. We saw that from Obey, I believe.
Sure.
But something tells me that this is going to be Achilles solo and Artio in the support role. Artio still has a good matchup against the Terra, stops that dashing through the monoliths. And surprise, surprise, no Hunter locked in for Splyce.
Yeah, looks like Splyce feel like they don't need that ranged physical damage here, Aggro. Looks like they don't need it, but you got to look at both these rosters, so I am going to ask you who you got. United, Splyce, Achilles finally get the win. That's a better question.
Yeah, I would usually say if Achilles is in there, we're going to give it to the other side, but man, what Bellona ADC, miss me. Give me United.
Give me United. All right, that's us here on the desk. Let's go ahead and get over to the casters to get the result.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Me and Tom will be joining you for this amazing broadcast of eUnited versus Splyce. Top and the bottom, kind of how it feels here. I mean, it is, pretty much. No, it's not, because eUnited's middle of the table.
Exactly, but eUnited has recently been performing like the top. And looking at what Splyce has become or has been, Splyce is a deceptive team when it comes to the standings. I think that their win-losses kind of deceive the viewer. They're definitely better than their standing and their record.
What do you guys at home think for this one? Who's going to take game 1? eUnited with that Achilles that's currently 0-6 in the Pro League? Or will it be Splyce with their unconventional conventionality?
Sure. I'm also with Ryan. Miss me with the Bellona Hunter. We'll see if it's a different character. I'm thinking maybe the Fenrir might be a little bit more aggressive. I have no clue till we get to the battlefield, but I'm also wary of this draft.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see how we get into it, though, and how eUnited look. It could be the first time we get to see Achilles win a game, though. Potentially, depending what they're up against. It is Bellona AD carry.
And so in the effort to search for a positive note here, as Splyce is deep in the enemy territory, CycloneSpin, we all know, he used to be a solo laner, so the Bellona absolutely in his wheelhouse.
Play to your advantages, right?
So, again, you know, I've been sort of preaching the anti-meta for years now. And one of the biggest parts of the anti-meta is knowing what you're good at, right? So CycloneSpin picks a character here. But here's the thing, and what I was excited to watch Cyclone go to Hunter because he had an eclectic god pool.
Yep.
I think you can play your aggressive. I just have to reiterate what Aggro said. I don't know where this Bellona is how this is gonna play out. So
I think Bellona is a good pick overall. Do I think it in the Hunter role? Not so much. The reason I like it, though, is because it's against a Mercury and it's against an Artemis. Both of those very auto-attack focused to get damage off and crit. So disarm, big thing that can really help you out. Plus the shield blocks as well. The pick itself is good. I think it's being forced more because Divios has got this tier. Otherwise, you could have just put it solo lane, right? And been okay.
Sure. Well, big bludgeon damage already coming out against eUnited. Also going to chase out the double sprints.
He's safe.
Yeah?
Safe enough. Yeah, the beatdown's good, but it's not any more than that. I've played enough dual lane now this season to be like, okay, they'll live. The potions do come into play as always, and the extra poke afterwards is where you've got to be careful, but they're staying far enough away consistently here to make sure that they don't lose too much. The Reese said you can already see PandaCat's back to full health with just using a couple of potions. He's started off with health and multi-potions. PolarBearMike just needs to watch his mana here.
Interesting stuff, I think, in the dual lane, and, well, even in the poll here, 2/3 of y'all think that eUnited are going to take it. I'm actually surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised at how high that Splyce answer is.
I think some of that is because of eUnited's performances, though, so far this split. I mean, realistically, last week we saw them get their first 2 wins. One of those wins was against Splyce, so, you know, I can understand people maybe still thinking eUnited don't look as good this year. Rightfully so. I think the real test for eUnited will be next week, but first of all, they've got to make sure they win back-to-backs here today, too.
I want to dive into this Splyce draft real quick, as they're actually going for the red buff, and dual lane's going to respond here. You can see PolarBearMike burning the charge just in order to get to this location. And Scream's waiting outside, looking just to collect the members of Splyce.
Oh, the turnaround, though. Scream was just holding the corner, trying to wait for his team, and Best and Cyno went, well, if you're going to wait that long, we'll just take your life.
Love the placement of the rocks there coming out from PolarBearMike, just ensuring nobody can really walk through there. Splyce doesn't actually get the red buff, but I think the first blood is good enough.
Yeah, first blood will definitely help him out. It went towards the Best as well, which isn't going to complain about that. Getting those boots online a little bit quicker for the mid laner will help him out, especially with the Agni.
Especially with this draft, Hindu Man.
That's
because
true.
my problem with this draft is that there is a lack of dedicated damage. The Agni gives up some of his damage for control. Fenrir frequently rebuilt into the tank style. I'm trying to be very cautious here in this duel.
No, it should be okay. Cyclone will be back in tower unless a couple of autos come in. The Shell was forced, however. Shell on Bellona this game, notice that. Shell in the early game, still viable, still going to be useful into the later stages, specifically when it gets that upgrade.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Shell's going to be able to block some of the strong pacing attacks, especially when you look at the players across the way. And there's 2 options in the Relic world for mitigation, meditation, and the Shell. Shell's better early.
Cyno missed that leap, but did manage to try and steal away the blue buff. Didn't happen, though. Benji got it, and then because he jumped in place, Scream picks himself up a free kill.
Feeling good about that one. And Tier over here in the solo lane will be by himself, 1 versus 2. And the Tier is the positive side of this draft. Agni gives up some burst damage to have control. Cyno's Fenrir will wind up being built into the tank later on, like we see most Fenrirs, right? Bellona, that's going to be more defense. You're losing some offense for defense, right? Not touching Terra. Divios on the Tier is one of the tanks that actually gain offense, right? But Divios has a little bit of offense. I don't see enough for Splyce here in general with their draft. They're going to lack damage in the late game.
But what about using the Reflect, the Neemium, the Thorns? I mean, these many tanks, it can cause some problems. So about problems, Cyno going to leap in, looking for PandaCat. Brutalize successfully goes all the way through. If he would have landed the leap, that would have been a kill for the young wolf.
Yeah, I needed the leap and a little bit of extra damage. They were not going to find it, so tie game here.
But going back to what I was saying about the Splyce, though, I agree they do like damage, but what about making them reflect back on themselves, you know? Multiple tanks means multiple chances of Thorns, multiple chances of Neemian Lions.
Sure.
Against 2 critters.
Yes, and I think that's valuable in the late game as an emergency parachute pull. You're going to be itemizing into that, but depending on that as a win con is asking a little bit much from a Neemian and a Thorns build. What really I think is Splyce's victory here is looking for an early win in the mid game, and this is what we saw them do earlier on. They just weren't able to accomplish this. So what I think happened here with Splyce is they opted into these sort of picks because mid game Bellona swings. Mid-game, Fenrir swings. Mid-game, Agni swings. So Splyce is looking to win this game earlier than the average number.
That's what you're telling me. The swingers today.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Good
That's
to know.
exactly what I'm saying.
Now the solo lane as well, Divios up against Benji. Obviously, Divios we've mentioned a little bit on the tier already, but He feels to be the only person that's going with this tier pick consistently, looking to always pick it up very early on in the draft, and I kind of like the idea of seeing people just invest in a god that they personally like, even if it doesn't necessarily what everybody else is playing.
Absolutely.
Whereas Achilles is someone that's kind of struggled. We've seen him in solo, seen him in the jungle, seen him in the support role, still not found anything to speak of yet. Maybe Benji, probably, if not the best solo laner in the world, at least according to me, you know, maybe you can make this work.
Listen, we are day 4. We were day 4, week 4, split 1, season 5.
All right,
now.
SPL happened.
My point is we're very early in the lifespan of Achilles.
That's true.
I'm going to bring this anecdote every time we see a character do poorly. Serket was considered bad when she came out.
I know.
And very little changes happened to make that character good. It was the fact that players didn't really know how to use her.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm not saying that Achilles is the best. I think that he does have some issues, but I think Benji is a guy that can make this dude work.
Sorry, strong early, weak late is how I kind of see this god. And I think that's a fine place to be in. You know, be strong in the early game, be slightly weaker in the late game if you need to be. At the moment, he's being beaten up by Divios with the sustain, but turned around again, and Benji making very good use of those dashes, which a lot of the players are actually maxing first of all on this Achilles.
Yeah, being able to get 2 hits off of that ability. Here we see him.
Oh, he went 1 actually.
Yeah, paying attention to the 1 and the 2, not showing love to that ultimate. So basically what you get out of here is that the dash will actually help you clear the wave a little bit later, but I think Benji's investing in that first ability, looking for the control, the stun that it brings, and will clear the wave that way. But then going into his third ability, the dash, that's going to be his poke ability. You only get the reset when you do damage to an enemy god, so he's going to be looking to really dig into Divios that way.
The only real difference in this game so far is the fact that one jungler's got a kill, the other one didn't. It was their mid laner, but both the junglers did die. So at the moment, that little bit of a disparity between Cyno and Screammmmm really comes down to that first blood that went to Best. But Best is actually behind an experience here, which shows that eUnited are doing a much better job of farming.
CycloneSpin
Mercury.
gets his ultimate chased out early.
I just heard the clap. Whenever you hear the clap, you know there's issues.
Yeah.
In real life and in Smite.
Well, Scream right now. I mean, he's being very aggressive because he knows it's like doesn't have that ultimate. And without forget about the protections and the stun and everything it brings, she doesn't have an escape.
Well, Venenu in mid lane might need to escape soon. Cyno was looking potentially at a gank there, but a quick pull from Venenu gets him back to safety after the stun did connect from Best. Aror hanging around on the Terra. This is pre-buff Terra, by the way. Just a reminder to you all that the SPL is played on the last patch, not the one that's currently out. Just for the weeks in between to allow the players a little bit more time to get to grips with the changes.
Yeah, I mean, a character change like Terra has seen, ultimate chased out of the mid lane, is, I mean, monumental. It is not just a numbers change. Oh.
He's just used everything. Venenu's made a terrible mistake there. I actually believe the ultimate he fired off there, which we didn't really commentate on, was because he thought he was getting ganked, but that led to a gank because he went for a portal on the ground. No portal, no ultimate. Well, you know what? You're going to base.
Exactly. Up here, right through the middle comes Scream, looking for the Gold Fury. Splyce started up. They're going to go ahead and unleash it.
Panda's trying to take it. He's going to have to reset. He's taking way too much damage. But Scream just pick up Cyclone and now looks to Aror, but surrounded by 3.
And the sprint's not good enough on the other side. Cyno winds up with the kill. 2-1-1 for the jungler.
Cheeky Gold Fury attempt that turned into a 1-for-1 trade, if anything is to be said about that. I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, Venenu dying in mid actually made that okay, just because of the fact that I think eUnited could have taken the Gold Fury if Venenu was still alive.
Yeah, sure. And that's one of those plays where Scream dies, and that's not ideal.
Yeah.
But he protected the Gold Fury. He threw his body right in front of the Gold Fury, made sure that Splyce couldn't get the objective. Splyce is ahead by 900. If they get that Gold Fury, they're ahead by 15 to 2,000, and that's a different world. So eUnited's jungler gives up his life, but for the right reasons. Good decision-making coming out there from Scream.
I will say I love Sonic Boom. I think Sonic Boom is one of those abilities that it's hard even for a commentator to keep an eye on where Mercury is until he just appears out of nowhere, and that situation there was a smaller take of it, because I prefer the lane ones where you're watching a fight in lane, and the next minute, Out of nowhere, this bullet appears.
That's one of my favorite things that Mercury brings, and as Mercury gets played more and more, we're going to have to see an adaptation to the vision. Basically, Mercury can gank from behind a tier 1 tower and surprise the players in lane. So what we saw when the last time Mercury was very popular was ward vision.
Ganks already from Cyno once again to PandaCat, and this time the Brutalize is good. Picks up Mike, brings him back towards the flag. Bludgeon came through nicely from Cyclone, but there's a Sonic Boom to turn this.
Right over there, cutting everybody in half. Scream picks
Great
up
rotation.
1, looking for number 2. The portal will set him up. Scream with the 1-2 punch takes care of Aror.
Cleanest thing out of Scream there was the beads to prevent the wall. Being able to make the wall hit you and not stun you meant he could just keep punching Aror in the face. Venenu, though, jukes out that second firebomb that rained down, because if that connected, that could have been a bit more of a dangerous situation for the boys of eUnited.
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm talking about anti-Mercury wards, right? And talking about how when Mercury's in the game, he changes where you need to ward. Well, Splyce actually had the vision in general. There's a ward there by the enemy purple buff.
Funny enough, though, Tom, I think the one thing about Mercury this season, as you can see by the ward there, the one thing about Mercury this season is he's learning, but so are everybody else, about where he can come from.
Right.
That's also an important factor, because the
New
map
map.
changing means that the avenues you would see in an ultimate come through may not be the same anymore. There might be even new ones that have appeared.
With that said, I mean, the jungler pathing as far as what Fenrir is doing, everybody's seen that.
Sure.
eUnited should kind of know that Splyce has vision there and look to de-ward that. We've seen more and more players be buying more and more sentries. 2 on the side of eUnited. They need to de-sentry and clear up that left side. Otherwise, Cyno is going to keep doing what he just started.
Well, looking at Splyce's composition and what they've been building, it is a tanky sort of game they're going for here. Looks like a sovereignty coming out from Aror already. Midgardian for the Hunter-positioned CycloneSpin on this Bellona. Obviously, attack speed and a slow, definitely going to be impactful against these carries.
Oh, no. I think they're trying to... This is some black magic. They're trying to summon the demon that is the tank meta.
They're trying to summon it? I hope they don't summon it. I just hope PandaCat turns this around. Maybe. Double balls and a quick Sonic Boom out of nowhere. Puts Cyclone in danger, but out of the tower he goes. When on the rotation means this could be punished.
What a great punish from Splyce.
Is it, though?
Oh, I mean, they're so tanky. Scream can't actually do the damage.
The tank damage is just helping him survive a little bit loner. Cyno picks up Scream after Scream, and PandaCat try and turn it around. Best a little bit overextended, but Divios is here. Where'd he come from? That's not Mercury.
Surprise with the fearless power cleave. Big D comes all the way from the right-hand side,
TP and blink.
using that upgraded teleport this early in the game to make the impact. And guess where he teleported to, Graham?
The ward.
The ward that I said eUnited should get rid of. You have to clean this up. Splyce has already shown their hand. They're playing with their hand face up. They said, look, we are going to gank this left side lane. And eUnited used that to their advantage. eUnited set up that Mercury from behind their tower, looking to punish Splyce for being that aggressive, but...
After though, this game, like every game is an arms race, but this one is specifically an arms race now, because if you look at what happened in that fight, Splyce got aggressive, eUnited ganked and should have found a kill, but the arms race was in Splyce's favor in terms of how tanky they were. If eUnited can get back on the arms race a little bit more, I don't think they're going to have enough protection to stop it when the full builds come through.
First
Maybe.
item, Midgardian Mail. Exactly.
Yeah.
And just, oh my goodness. It's literally what saved CycloneSpin from Scream right there.
Yeah, just the extra, not just the amount
slow.
of damage you're going to soak from the protections, it's the slow and attack speed slow. The pair of them do both. It stops Panda being able to fire as many basic attacks and also be in range to hit those basic attacks he's going to fire.
Yeah, it's, yeesh. Scream and eUnited just, this is a puzzle game for eUnited.
How do we break it?
Exactly. Splyce has presented a problem, and EU basically have to figure it out. Rushing penetration can be dangerous. I mean, it's going to be tough.
Funny enough, the only thorns I actually see on the side of Splyce so far is for the Fenrir. If anything, I'd expect that to be the most damaging of this team and not as tanky, but he's going for a very tanky build too.
I think we'll definitely see a Thorns on at least one member of the duo lane. PolarBearMike gets jumped on, and here comes the ultimate out of the big dog.
Well, you can't dash if you're sat in a cripple pool, even if you're being carried by the dog. Mike just sits there and goes, okay, cool.
Nice and easy. A little bit of help from Venenu. Certainly comes through with the ultimate. It's a big deal.
That is a good point, yeah. The ultimate being burnt there is a big impact, but Aurors and Cynos were used at the same time, so a 2-for-2 trade.
Splyce right now have they've positioned themselves to take control of this game in a very different sort of way. Looking at this Gold Fury, I'm not sure if I'm on the same page.
They need Mike here. Sorry, they need PandaCat here, really, with that ultimate to make an impact here, because if everybody else is kind of on cooldown, Mike and Benji grouped up.
Big stun.
Not somewhere they want to be, and Best will punish it. Divios with a blink onto Mike to juggle him in the air. Eagles rally just off the mark from Cyclone, but the Best will be there to secure with the support of Divios.
Over the top,
But
now
Divios-
Divios is in some trouble, gonna get wrapped up by the Mercury. But Tyr will be fine walking on through until Venenu
Good
shows
auto.
up.
Great auto from Venenu there. Just realized that's all he needed to secure the kill was Portal, auto attack. Didn't have his unstable vortex up more than likely there. But now with Divios being dead and PolarBearMike, Splyce aren't so confident anymore around this Gold Fury pit.
So one of the things, you know, I mentioned that the Tyr pick will be a little bit more offensive than some of the other solo lane selections. Splyce have identified that they play through Divios, and they're looking for their solo laner to be their hard carry these days. Right now, he's practically the only hard carry here, but he's building tank. I am cautiously optimistic to watch this play out.
I really think this is going to turn into trying to kill the front line, which is 4 deep, and then Best is there to rain hell upon them. Is kind of how this comp feels now.
Yeah, you've got
You
Best
know?
being your Best is the only true damage dealer on this squad, and Divios is going to be secondary, not CycloneSpin. So it's an interesting way to play. It's different, but will it be successful is my question.
I mean, the one thing of Days of Old with the Warriors, was that a sonic boom down the right side? No. Okay, I thought I just saw a real animation then on the right when the backing was coming out from Benji, but it's okay. 14 now for Scream, but involved in 4 of the 5, well, actually all 5 kills. He's got credit for 4 of those kills, which is not a bad spot for a Mercury to be in at this stage. He's leading the pack for his team.
Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect spot. Starting off with the Katana, which is pretty interesting because Merc is a burst character. A lot of people think of him as a basic attack character, but he's really just looking to leverage his passive and his crit that he builds into inevitably into a big one-shot piece of damage. So the Katana, while curious, is obviously strong for him because he works well with the movement speed.
Yeah. Movement speed and passive, plus if he hits a minion or something, he's getting that extra movement speed still to be able to keep moving at full pace.
The most important part about the Katana and the additional movement speed and the attack speed on it, I think, is to counteract the Midgardian mail nonsense.
That's what I
He's
was
still going to
thinking
get
too.
hung up on that passive, but it will at least mitigate the effect.
Talking about mitigation, Cyno going to go for the Ancile as well to protect some of that magical damage out of Venenu and allow him to jump in.
Also, exactly. Also, to shut that Artio down, silence out her nonsense. The cripple's going to be a big deal for Divios, but we've seen him play into the Artio before very successfully. He's just that crafty. Cyno on the Fenrir won't have access to Brutalize with Artio's cripple field around her, so using that Achilles to jump on the support is going to be a good look.
So a little damage check from Scream there on the Pyromancer. He was there on his own, but he was like, I'm just going to punch it in the face once or twice and just see how much I'm doing right now, because if there's a chance I can take it on my own, I will. Trying to take it on their own, though, is eUnited's PolarBearMike and Venenu, at least a red buff, but being contested. Mid lane, Scream's in trouble.
Oh, the stun is not going to hit. Scream gets out of there. The pre-beads.
Yep.
Really nice.
There's twice his beads right on point. That's a really big, important factor. A lot of people like to hold the beads for the last second until they do get stunned, but sometimes pre-beading and expecting a pro to hit that stun, better safe than sorry.
Splyce get the tower because they chased out Venenu. Pretty simple, cut and dry there. Chase out the mid lane, take his house.
It's a good game, Tom. This actually, like, Splyce have kept even keel. They're ahead, if anything, right now. It's just how this comp's going to work in the later stages.
Divios, oh man, he's going to miss there, but exactly what I said before is that Splyce identified that they are trying to win this one earlier than late. I really think that's what happens here. We saw them try this earlier on, but
I mean, the later you go, the more you're dealing with a Mercury and an Artemis and a Janus. Like, those 3 on the right. If you said Mercury, Janus, Artemis on the enemy team, what's your game plan? Don't let this go late. Please, however tanky we get, however much we do, one team fight where they get a couple of kills, it's over. They'll roll us.
You're seeing the 2 separate thought processes and responses to the current Hunter situation. Common thought process right now regarding Hunters is that they're not very strong. Truth of the matter is, they're not very strong. But what they do is they do turn up a little bit in the late game. Not as much, I think, as people would like, but when you pick these hyper late carries, like the Artemises and the Shibalankes that we saw CycloneSpin try last time, they do well. The other approach to that is to just say, screw Hunters altogether and go Nuwa like Jermaine or here, Bellona like Cyclone.
I think we said it best on the broadcast, I think, yesterday, where it was like, all days of the Hunter and the hyper carry roll, 3 or 4 shots and you're dead. Nowadays, it's 5 or 6 shots and you're dead. It's still the same result. It's just taking an extra shot or 2 more than it has in previous seasons.
Pretty much. I don't think anything's going to come of this PolarBearMike fight. It's more about that red buff.
Yeah, and it has been stolen by the looks of it too. Mid-fight going on the right-hand side. Those who are looking for Scream once again, who's got no beats, remember, juggle to the air. Great Eagles rally follow up there by Cyclone. The 2 former solo lanes combining together to make a very rough situation for eUnited.
And meanwhile, Splyce trying to get out of here after they do the deed, taking Scream down. He'll be sitting out for 35 seconds about. And one of the biggest things that I noticed during that team fight was the Frenzy. Frenzy came out on... Which side did the Frenzy come from?
Did you see a Frenzy? No, I don't see one of them. Are you making up relics again?
Am I seriously making this
up? Oh, you're right.
Okay, good.
You're right.
I was like, no, I swear I saw that.
So
Thank you very much.
And to be fair, Mike's Frenzy is a really good answer to the tank composition. Like, yeah, you can weather a lot of storm, but can you weather all this burst at the same time? They can come out from a Janus, from an Artemis. Go Fury, reset again. Benji just showing enough face, that space and time. Clips the best, and that's a problem. Execute! He got one! I've not seen that yet.
Really important point after the fact. PolarBearMike going to set players up. 3 people in the portal coming out from Venenu. This guy has been on fire.
But Cyno still in there, making sure he claims a life in response. Venenu will take out Cyno, though, and Mike has to limp away low on mana. Benji left in the fight. Not a surprise to see Benji taking on everybody. It's a classic way of him still on full health. He turned up to the fight, and honestly, space and time is what changed that.
I love that. I love that Achilles play. He used the ultimate and then immediately canceled it. No interest in following up and looking for the secondary ultimate and gonna put himself in a bad position, taking more and more % damage. Just said, okay, I did it. Cancel. Done.
And Scream immediately after respawning heads to the right-hand side, takes a free tier 1 tower, which is arguably makes it a better situation for eUnited to be in, considering they didn't lose the gold either, you know? Scream died at the start of the engagement and then still makes an impact.
Frenzy is a great... Frenzy, I was very curious to see which side the Frenzy was on because both teams, I'm going to say, need this relic. eUnited need the Frenzy to fight through the tankiness out of Splyce. Don't forget, you get penetration when you upgrade that as well, so that's going to help against the tanky builds. But Splyce, since they don't have a lot of raw damage on their side, Frenzy is going to amplify your damage by a flat % instead of amplifying your power, which we're not seeing much of. I would like to see the Frenzy on the side of Splyce as well, because it's just going to amplify their damage that they're already lacking.
Tom, 2 Thorns so far. 1 that could still be picked up for Aror. I'm not sure if he's going to go that way, though. 3 Midgardian males. No Nemeans.
No. And this is one of the... Ooh, the Blackthorn.
I did see that earlier. I was going to bring that up when we got a chance to talk about that. The Blackthorn hammer pickup.
Yeah, this is kind of like Shifter Shield Plus, right?
Yeah.
You're getting basically, when your mana bar is full, you're getting some nice CDR, so you can actually use that mana and then use that CDR. And then when you're low on mana, you're getting an MP5, so that it can work its way up.
It's a sustain item more than anything else that allows you to spam a little bit more. So it's basically an extra 10% cooldown, which can be very, very useful. Benji, back over to this left-hand lane, knowing that Scream's in the right and the tier 1 tower's down. His job now is to kind of set up a little bit of a zone where Splyce don't really want to interact. At least he can be on the front line and weather the storm of the initial engagement.
Well, right now, the storm's kind of picking up here. eUnited, we got real wind going on because Splyce are down 3K. They're still making these plays, though, and this is something that I really want to drive home. 2,900 in the lead is eUnited, but Splyce's build, the tank commitment, has made it so that the extra items that eUnited are getting are not providing the normal amount of boost that we would see.
Sure, I think it's going to be a little bit later until the gold doesn't matter as much, but eUnited's gold is important to them right now. The Frenzy popped to burst the gold. Aror's here looking to try and secure but eUnited will get it with the unstable vortex from Venenu. Divios goes on PandaCat, but CycloneSpin goes on Venenu. Split the difference, boys. You probably should group up on one. Still, eUnited looking to escape as Cyno off the mark with the leap.
And couldn't find the target on the back line, so he'll tussle with PolarBearMike, but Benji surrounded.
Still Benji.
Fearless power cleave, and he's still Benji. Just clean and clear. The solo laner not taking any damage.
So what happens here? We talked about the comps, Tom. Splyce can't die, but they can't deal damage either.
Exactly. And this was my worry from minute one, was the fact that, and we saw it, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, when Divios, or excuse me, TheBest got a stun on 3 separate players earlier in the game in some random team fight.
Yep.
Nobody.
This is risky.
Nobody died.
Ooh, unstable vortex just at the right time. Scream going to take a little bit of a ride with Divios as Cyclone comes around the back, trying to keep the pressure on. Don't forget, with all these Midgardian males, though, they do stack off each other technically, so it would allow you to get that stack up a lot quicker with the movement speed being reduced by 30%.
Man, full commit to this tank world. Aror even going into the Lotus Crown to give his teammates even more props.
So I see the horrific emblem as well on Benji. I would have actually preferred a sprint. A second sprint here would have worked, especially against 3 Midgardians. I don't know if the Midgardians were built at the point where he got his second relic, to be fair to him. But if they would have realized there was going to be 3 Midgardians in this team that will allow each of them to stack on each other to get that slow, having a secondary sprint means longer time in that game where you're just like, I don't care about slows no more. It's not a problem for me.
Yeah, certainly would be a nice look for eUnited, but right now, I like the choice of relic here from Benji.
It's gonna hurt.
Simply because eUnited, I don't really care about their survivability.
Well, the upgraded version of it as well. If you look, do you want to hover over it, cameraman? Because it gives reduced damage. It reduces damage of targets hit by that horrific emblem by 20%. Now, we've been talking about Splyce's comp being very tank heavy and low on damage. So if you're only doing low damage and then you're doing another 20% lower damage during a team fight, it's going to cause more problems.
Like I said, I think I would have rather this be an offensive relic, but, you know, shutting down what Splyce is
like
trying
what?
to do.
What kind of offense?
Frenzy.
Frenzy?
I want another
a second frenzy.
Yeah.
Bombs raining from Best, but Mike tanks it all up and survives. Sonic Boom, miss from Scream. The Brutalize is still chasing him, but they can't get the kill on Mike.
They have a single carry. They're just not enough damage on the side of Splyce.
Meanwhile, Venenu was just causing some distractions in the mid area as Benji turns up to the fight. All members of Splyce relatively healthy considering, whereas Mike took a brutal engagement and stayed strong.
I think that one's going to hurt Venenu a little bit.
Paul needs to get to the portal, gets it. Cost him his beads too. Benji turned up just in the nick of time to help out a little bit there. The CC chain was pretty solid from Splyce, but still Splyce marching on.
And they're going to walk right into the Tier 2 tower. This is the positive side of the tank build, is the fact that they can kind of do whatever
Eagles
they
rally on
want.
PandaCat and the Aegis, but both of them absorbed. However, the walls come crashing in as Best drops the fire from heaven. And that will be a death on the side of eUnited. Scream, though, does answer them back with a Tier 2. Actually, at the moment, this is okay. Execute Rangers, execute Rangers!
One goes down. Benji finds him with the ultimate. Divios going to control him. But that's going to be it.
Another one!
Trouble! That's going to be number 2!
Give Benji the movement speed to get there if you can, because he could look for it a third time. Obviously not in range just yet. Soul Gem heals Best up a little bit more. But Tier 2 tower on the right. The Tier 2 tower in mid lane is still alive, and Best is surrounded.
Oh my goodness. Just chasing him all the way down. The rain comes, but that's
It's alive.
Dash away. CycloneSpin shows up. He's going to be able to shut down Mike for a second, but Venenu turns up and puts down Best.
Meanwhile, Scream is going to push in the mid lane. Divios turns back up to the fight to try and defend that speed buff, which is still alive, luckily enough. Over the wall comes Divios, looking at Scream, trying to find the Fearless, but the quick feet of Mercury get him out of the danger field and back to safety.
Tower still in trouble here. Benji walking away, and Divios going to force him out. So Tier 2 tower in the mid lane will stand for Splyce.
This is a really fun game to cast because there's plenty of action, even though there's not a lot of deaths overall. I mean, yeah, 20 deaths in 28 minutes is actually it's better than a European game, let's put it that way. But at the same time, it does feel like Splyce are on a clock. I just feel like they're on a clock until everyone's going to hit full build on eUnited, and then there's going to be one fight that just goes wrong, like that last one, and it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, the positive side of Splyce's build, composition, draft, their macro strategy here, right, is the fact that if they fight a 5-on-4, eUnited simply just don't have the numbers to kill them.
But they have the numbers to survive. They have enough peel in their own kits to be able to get themselves out of the danger. While that last missing member, what's he doing?
Exactly.
Recalling, firing an ult across the map, or he's getting a tower.
Well, Splyce going to start the Gold Fury here, so I want to be careful with how long I go on, but I think a big point of what Splyce is bringing here is the fact that they might not be able to kill you, Hindu Man, but you will have to go back to base.
Keep an eye on Venenu and Scream here. Venenu with the space and time, going to try and lead his troops through. He's in mid lane at the moment. Scream's going to push up the left. Taking him a long time to bring down the Gold Fury. You know why. We're not going to mention it another time. It's going to take him a little bit of time, so that's why Mike and Benji happy to be on the front line, allow Venenu to maybe even look at the tier 2, but here's the engage.
And Cyno's going to line one up. Here's TheBest doing the damage. PolarBearMike goes down. That's the tankiest member of eUnited. He's repeatedly been the target.
Didn't get executed there by Benji, but the surrounding PandaCat is good. He was left alone after Mike died. 2 good kills for Splyce. Venenu is still pushing mid here. Gold Fury still stands, but Scream could fall any moment.
Scream getting brutalized. Cyno cancels it. Janus split pushing in the middle lane. 25% on the Phoenix. That's the one that counts. Divios is here. Can the Janus do it? Split push. Janus is successful. Gets the mid Phoenix.
And in the end of the day, yes, Splyce win the battle, but they are not winning this war with how this is going. Another time, as you said, Tom, we called it. 4v5, Splyce can't be killed. eUnited can, but what are eUnited getting out of it? They got a Phoenix. This is important. This fire giant is huge. They need this one, Tom. They have to get it before eUnited can get back.
Now, if this is a regular composition, there's no chance in hell that eUnited can respond, but only down 50%.
It's so slow. Benji's going to walk through the ward first of all, so Splyce have got a call. Do we stay or do we go? They're going to commit. They're staying on it, fully investing the bombs, looking for it. Splyce get the fire giant, but eUnited to the back. Sonic Boom is ready.
And now they're looking for the clash. PolarBearMike gets number 11. eUnited gonna punish Splyce for taking the objective. Big D wrapped up. He's gonna go ahead and jump over the wall. And the members of Splyce have exited. And Divios will exit the hard way. 3 players left to play defense.
And they have the fire giant, but a Phoenix already down in the mid lane means that eUnited have less options to really have to look at. Let's just go for the right-hand tower. Right-hand Phoenix. Mike can tank this up for a while. Screams in-hand damage. Should do a lot of work. Cyno needs to be here. Splyce need to get back now.
Yeah, Scream's gonna get jumped on. But
Always Mike.
Again, the target for this team. They really think if they take care of the Guardian, they'll be able to work unfettered.
Well, CycloneSpin's trying to do his best at taking care of PandaCat, but the Thorns are down now, and the portal from Venenu will allow him to pick up the kill. Phoenix getting whittled down. No real minions here left anymore. Benji, though, can tank for quite a while. This is a second Phoenix for eUnited, even though Splyce got the fire.
Yeah, Benji's got, he's using the armor version, right? We can ride along with Benji real quick. I want to see if he's wearing a shirt.
Is he naked? He's naked.
He's not wearing a shirt.
Listen, you never want to wear a shirt as Achilles. There's a multitude of reasons for you. The 2 basic reasons that you really need to know, and it's not because he's an attractive human being. Movement, speed, and power. Hey, do you want to put armor on and get some defense, or would you rather have movement, speed, and power? Think I'm taking movement, speed, and power, boys and girls.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you build full tank, you really don't need that that additional armor. He was just so tanky that I thought he was actually wearing the passive in addition.
He's just that good. He's just that. Imagine if you had that armor on.
I mean, Benji, just so you guys at home know, Benji actually gets a +5 tanky coefficient on any character he plays.
Does he?
Yeah, Benji just, he tanks everybody.
Is that because he won Worlds? He can do that?
No, that's how he won Worlds.
Oh, he had that before Worlds.
He's just that good.
Okay. I think the interesting thing this year is, like, there's definitely people standing out to me where I'm like, if I had to pick my World Championship team now, Baskin adapting Benji a 3 for sure.
Last item, Katana coming out from CycloneSpin.
He can stick to a character.
Graham, I am.
You not down?
I don't like this choice of character, and I don't like this item. I don't see the damage coming out from the Bellona this way. She's done half of the damage of the mages.
You know, Splyce for me is a lot like how I'm viewing mouse sports at the moment. Why not just try to play straight up? How about just give one set of straight up?
You know I'm gonna fight you on this one.
I know, but just one set. Just see how it feels, you know? Just give it a go.
Straight up, first of all, what is straight up. I think that blindly follow. Everybody knows that I think that blindly following the meta is straight incorrect.
Agreed.
But we're still early enough in this game, in this season, that we don't know what straight up means yet.
I guess, I mean, to be fair, if you're talking about, I mean, it was like, well, why am I just one spicy pick? I mean, realistically, with what Splyce has drafted it is one spicy pick in the Bellona. Everybody else is pretty much in position anyway. You're right.
They just went
it just feels more because it's Splyce.
They just went in the other direction. We've seen teams go, okay, Hunter's not going to work. Let's replace it with another damage dealer. Splyce went, Hunter's not going to work. Let's replace it with another tank.
Aror just trying to slow down Benji, hitting that middle Phoenix, which is weakened. Scream turns up on that middle lane, but meanwhile on the left, the Eagles rally onto PandaCat. PandaCat just trying to stay alive as long as he can. Now Cyno picks him up though. PandaCat gets still alive. Wait, what? How?
Really big Aegis to immune a lot of
Divios chasing him.
Damage. Aror gets executed by Benji. Damage still coming out onto eUnited. CycloneSpin low.
Wait, Divios has been chasing around PandaCat and couldn't find him while this is all going on. PandaCat juked it out until Scream turned up, and that means Divios wasn't even in this fight on the left-hand side, which allowed eUnited to get so much, and Scream can just keep Divios busy, so his team could look to end game one.
Yeah, Divios doesn't have the luxury of backing right now, so it's all about the Titan, and the minions have already been going to work on it. 25% already.
17 to 13, or 18 to 13. Benji will claim the best life right at the end there. eUnited take game one. With how that looked, it was definitely back and forth. I understand it, but we all saw the clock. We all had a feeling the clock was going to come with 2 crit characters.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of replacing a hard carry with a tank without supplementing that hard carry elsewhere. If the solo laner, if Divios decided to play, whether it's a hard carry assassin style or just goes transcendence tier and tries to be the old assassin tier, then I'm fine. But replacing the hunter with a tank and not finding the damage elsewhere, I think that was the issue.
Who do you guys at home think was MVP for that first game? Obviously, it's going to be a member of eUnited because they won that game. Definitely an interesting one, though, of where to really give that. I'm guessing Scream, Benji were the two. Venenu had some big impacts, too.
Scream did work in the early game. Later on, we saw Benji really bring this Achilles to fruition. First player to play it to win.
He won. Yeah, I forgot about that. Achilles won a game, guys.
But all eyes on Venenu for me.
Wow, let's head over to the desk where they'll break down game one.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Graham, as well. Finch and Ryan here. And I think that sarcastic golf clapping was because Achilles finally won a game. eUnited took the game.
So should we tell the balance team to take the nerfs or the buffs off the table then? We should not buff Achilles? Is that what the call
I think we
is,
should still do it because I think everyone would love if we did
I mean, he's
that.
only like 1 in 7 or something
he's
like that, right? So definitely needs
struggling.
No, look, Benji just did Benji stuff. Is it Achilles dependent? Not necessarily, but he certainly showed off what this character can do in the game like that. I mean, the double execute as they're chasing down Splyce. It was just the control and the damage that he brought was a little bit too much for Splyce to handle.
Yeah, and for my money, Ryan, it really felt like Splyce couldn't create enough separation from eUnited for what they drafted. And we were looking at it early on in the game, and even when they were kind of heading the kills, like maybe like 1,000, 2,000 gold separated them, and it just wasn't far enough.
Well, and the other thing is that Benji's able to do all that stuff on Achilles because of the draft that Splyce has gone for.
Yeah.
How in the world do they manage to kill him? Like, you have to hit him for 10 straight seconds to even have a chance of doing so, and that's hoping that Benji can't really do anything about it, and obviously he can. So the composition lends itself to letting Benji shine, but then he took advantage of that perfectly.
And it sounds